Daniel, Hervey, what's good, man? You look good?
I'm good.
Good.
No?
New year, fresh start.
New year.
Ready to attack
2024.
again.
100%. 2024. Before we even start, me and Daniel today were looking in the office at upcoming movies, and it feels like it's gonna be a dry year. Not even feels like, it seems like it's gonna be a dry year from what we saw.
I don't think I've got many I'm looking forward to. I think Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I know some people are a bit iffy on that, but that whole series I always loved, so I'm looking forward to seeing the next installment on that.
I'm actually looking forward to that, you know.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not. I don't know. It's all right. It was a fun movie, but it wasn't like a classic. I'm looking forward to Civil War. Daniel said he wasn't looking forward to that at all. It's an A24 film.
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah, it's coming out. I think it's coming out.
I know a lot. I don't know a lot about it, but I just dread the discourse around it. It's a movie about an American Civil War in an election year.
Oh, yeah, that's not gonna go well.
Well, like it's basically like I wouldn't say it's post-apocalyptic, but it's like when there's like civil war and just unrest in society, and I just like this type of film. Like like The Purge, for example. The Purge is dystopian, but still like those type of films where people are trying to like survive, they're in groups and there's just madness happening. That's like my kind of movie. So I can, even with the dead films, I'll still enjoy them.
I'll add it to my my watch list for the year.
Yeah.
Rebel Moon. What are your thoughts, Jonathan?
I'm starting to I wouldn't say I'm starting to understand, but I can see why people say Zack Snyder is known for his visuals rather than his storytelling when it comes to the movies. As in, like, they pretty much they say that his movies are like music videos rather than actual movies in itself. It says a lot of the times they say it's lacking in the storytelling aspect. And from this film, I understand. The movie was satisfactory. I feel like that's the best word to use for this. Like, that's literally the best way to describe this film. Was like, it was satisfactory. There wasn't anything too special about it. And like I remember I was mentioning before how I just finished watching this film today. I started watching it last week. And with me, I watch films literally throughout. I was speaking to this with Daniel before, and I said I don't know how people watch film in parts where they'll start like one half of the film on a Monday and then they'll finish the next half on a Tuesday or Wednesday. I just don't get how people do that. But I actually ended up doing it with this film. It's just storytelling wise, it wasn't great.
I feel like it was very half baked.
Yeah. Sorry.
I feel like there was a lot of potentially interesting ideas in there that just weren't executed well. I think, like you said, he's not really known for his storytelling, and you can feel it with the characters as well. I feel like the characters were genuinely very weak. There wasn't like really much to any of the characters at all. Story was like paper thin, like you can kind of like, take it or leave it or whatever. And interesting you say like he's known for the visuals. I thought it was quite not bland for the most part, but I wasn't really that impressed with the visuals in this.
I was more impressed with like the colors that you saw. I feel like the colors were like the main good thing about it.
Maybe because I was over the film halfway through. Halfway through, I think I was over the film, so I think I stopped really caring about all of that. But I remember there was this one scene, and Zack Snyder loves his slow-mos, and he was doing a slow-mo, and it was just like a rocky background, and I was like, this is just, it doesn't look great. It's not capturing me. I'm not feeling what you're wanting us to feel in that particular moment. And we can maybe touch on that in the spoiler section. But for me, a lot of half-baked ideas. It's a bit of a kind of nothing film, to be fair. No real development. A lot of characters that were just there, like didn't really have much to do apart from be introduced into the story. There wasn't really much for characters to actually do in the film. There was no dynamics between any of the characters as well. A lot of it was, okay, you're part of the crew, and that's it. There was nothing else to it between some of the different characters as well. So I would actually say I'm very disappointed considering how well I thought it started as well. I don't know what your thoughts on the start of the movie, but I thought it started off really well. It started off really high, and it just kind of tailed off for me halfway through the movie.
Yeah, definitely. The introduction of the antagonist, I definitely feel like he provided a fear factor, which I haven't felt in a very long time when it comes to these type of movies. So I do agree. The beginning was definitely great. You know what? Sorry to interject. I think they should have done, because I felt like this movie was rushed. And I think there's only 2 parts.
I have heard he wants to make a trilogy. I think it's part 1, part 2 for the moment, but it might potentially be a trilogy.
And I think they should have done with this film what they've done with Dune, because with Dune, it's like there's an introduction to the characters, we get to see their story develop, whereas this one is like he's trying to fit everything. Because like, even the introduction of certain characters, right? I don't know if this is a spoiler, but I remember I forgot his name, but the black guy with the dreads.
Yeah.
Yeah, him. I was kind of intrigued to see his story, but you don't get much. Do you get what I'm saying? So I think there was definitely there was times where it's like it was getting there, like it was getting interested, and then he had to kill it off because I think he was trying to fit everything. Because like this, it's just such a big universe.
Dan, I know you're not a fan of long movies whatsoever, but I feel like
it should have been one.
I didn't think it was that long. I don't think the length was the problem.
No, he's saying that he should have been a long movie.
My point would have been it should have been a longer movie. It could have been a longer movie, or it could have been told in a better way where it sort of fits, the current length that it's at.
Yeah. So my most positive thing I can say about this movie is that it's probably the best movie we've reviewed on this channel so far this year. And this year.
Better than Godzilla.
Better than Godzilla.
No, this year.
Oh, this year. Oh, okay.
Oh! You're a cheeky guy.
It's the first one. Yeah.
So, and the negative part was that, like you said, Jonathan, Zack Snyder is kind of known for being a style over substance director, except this time he forgot to bring the style. Like it wasn't even spectacle. I was completely bored with what was on screen because it didn't look good. It all looked muddy. There was no visual design whatsoever. Even if you ignore the story and the characters, there was just no. I wasn't intrigued about this, especially considering this is supposed to set up like a rival to Star Wars as a big, expansive space opera universe.
Did you say that
there's not a single location in this movie where I want to spend more time?
At all.
Dan,
I agree.
Did you say that this was pitched as a Star Wars film? Originally?
So when you look into like what Snyder has been saying about this movie, this started out as a pitch for a Star Wars movie back in 2012, and then they didn't obviously go with him. And so he has been. So first of all, he has been kicking around this story since the 90s. And then in 2012, he pitched a story for a Star Wars movie to Disney. They didn't go with it. And then he let it ferment for a couple more years. And then he pitched this to Netflix and they picked it up. So when we say that this is like a half-baked story or a bit undercooked or whatever, this has been going around in his head for 30 years. And for that, it's shockingly one-dimensional.
Yeah, that makes it even worse.
Guys, that's crazy. I actually thought the visuals was pretty nice. I didn't say it was breathtaking, but one thing that I definitely noticed about it was the colors. It was it wasn't too vibrant, but at the same time, it felt very I got smooth from it, if that makes sense. Especially near the end when, sorry, carry on.
I was going to say, because I felt even like the CGI in this was quite bad as well. And even some of the last planet that they visit when they have this, the final conflict, when they were actually approaching it and sort of flying through the place, I was like, this looks so bad up until you get up close with it. It looked so bad and it was so uninteresting. And like Daniel mentioned as well, we visit a few different places in the world and there's not a moment where I'm like, oh, this is interesting. All these characters are, it's like someone I want to spend a little bit more time with at all. It was just uninspiring.
Since the Star Wars comparison is obvious, I thought the prequels looked better. For the most part, at least more interesting. Like the places you went to, the problem with the prequels was you never really knew who anybody was or why anything was happening, but it looked pretty, and it sparked your imagination a little bit, at least not every place, but most places. And this just didn't even do that.
I wasn't expecting the visual comment. I thought you guys were very much going to be similar to my opinion.
So here's the thing: I don't think I've seen every Zack Snyder movie, but I've seen 300, I've seen Watchmen, I've seen the DCEU. It has some of the same things, right? It has the gratuitous slow motion. It has the especially focused on violence, right? Especially in something like 300 or in Watchmen, the slow motion tends to happen in places where there's something interesting going on screen. Especially in 300, the big battle scenes with hundreds of warriors on each side, or in Watchmen you have these superheroes fighting each other. But the point is that when slow motion happens, it's usually either important or interesting. And here it was just people firing guns. It wasn't even an important moment. It was just sometimes it slowed down a bit. Or even in something like Justice League or Dawn of Justice, it's somebody, Wonder Woman doing something especially acrobatic, or Batman doing, sneaking around or whatever, or dodging a punch or whatever it is. And
I would say, or showing Superman like being just as fast as the Flash when he's like running by, which was like a great shot as well.
But it would always be something interesting or impressive in some way, and nothing about this was impressive.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have to agree. I think they should have just took it slow and steady, man. Because I keep referring back to Dune, like, especially with his character. Like, I remember when Hervey was saying, obviously, he didn't really like Dune, right? But then I was the same until I realized that there's many more parts to come. So when I rewatched it again, I said to myself, okay, they're introducing us to the character story. We'll have to kind of like develop that type of relationship with the character as well. So in order for us to do that, we have to go step by step. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they did this with the girl. Obviously, with the main character in Rebel Moon. With her, it was like they gave us a little preview of her past, and then they just kind of rushed everything up. They just rushed the present. Do you know what I'm saying? It was just rushed, man. It was just rushed, and I think that's the downfall of this film. It's just they tried to put all the pieces together in one movie when it should have been spread out.
I don't even think it's that complicated a story, right? So the evil empire attacks, they decide they need to fight back, and they go to a couple of different places and pick up random people to fight for them, and then they get betrayed, right? But that's basically the plot, right? And then they go home to the village to start training, to prepare for the invasion. That's the plot. There's not a whole lot else going on. It's not like Dune has the problem of having to introduce a vast, complex world that runs on very esoteric and out there, very 60s science fiction concepts. And if you know the story, it's actually really impressive in how it does exposition, how it weaves information into every line and frame and costume and how characters behave. And even that is already overwhelming to people who aren't familiar with the story, right? But it does it as good as it possibly could, in my opinion, at least. This doesn't even do, like, what's the interesting concept? Like, there's an evil empire, there's good guy farmers, and then it's a universe full of jerks who are awful in different ways, but that's what they all have in common. Like, what's the society like? What's the culture like? What's the history like? Who are these people? What do they want other than exploit each other or be mean to each other? Either I completely missed it, or there's just nothing there.
And one more thing, even with the assembling of the team, the way that it just disassembled within 20 minutes of the film was crazy. I think he could have actually gone more into that, especially within the character. He could have used that and just, he literally could have gone with that, like just with the formation of the team, their relationships, their upbringing. Like most of them, I don't really know. Like I don't know much about them. Even with the guy that betrayed them, I don't even know him. I don't know much about him. Like I don't even, you know what I'm saying? Like,
and he likes to kill people, and he has a terrible haircut.
Yeah, exactly. But why? Like, why has he got to that point? And that's what it failed to show. So it's like, just the assembling and the disassembling of the team was so sudden and quick. That's when I was like, okay, this film is just unseasoned. This isn't his finished piece.
It wasn't just me, or did they just skip the reason why the person joins up for the last two? Like for the first guy, the guy with the griffin, that one, that had a reason for why he joined up, right? He was enslaved, and they bought his freedom by him doing what he could have done anyway.
I'm pretty
sure the griffin.
I'm pretty sure it just went, oh, we're gonna go against the I'm gonna call them the Empire because I can't remember the name. I'm gonna go against the Empire, and he's like, oh, I'm not really friends with the Empire, so I'll join your band. And I'm pretty sure that's how it went.
And the guy who owned him wouldn't let him go unless he tamed the griffin because that's valuable. But the protagonist didn't contribute anything to that, right? I think there was a 5-second pep talk, and that was it. But it's not like they pooled their skills, and that is what enabled him to tame the griffin. He could have done it at any point.
That was the same with the swordsmith lady, where they went to go see her. She went to go take down that Spider Woman. And I was like, why is no one helping her? Like, she's clearly going to kill this.
Yeah!
I just do it by herself. She didn't, like, none of it really made sense. So she went, she killed it, and she's like, all right, cool, she's part of the team now. And it was like, what?
Did I miss it, or is there really no reason for why she joins? Other than she achieved her mission of avenging whoever has been, poisoning children or whatever it was.
I have no clue. And also, like, part of like her story as well, it was really stupid. Because if this like Spider-Woman was like killing children, kidnapping and killing children,
well, she's poisoning them because the Empire has been poisoning her planet, and so her children were dying from pollution, and now she was killing their children with poison.
Yeah.
No, that was her whole thing.
Yeah. So I'm like, why didn't the swordswoman kill her sooner? Because it seemed pretty straightforward for her to kill her, to be honest. So it was like there was like really no point to it at all. A lot of what they showed about the crew when they were like joining, they showed interesting characteristics of them. So you had obviously like the general who led Veldt the rebellion against the the Empire, which we'll call them. You had the guy that tamed the hippogriff. You had the swordsman, whatever. The only one that really had, to my memory, that really kind of showcased their real talent was a swordsmith lady. Like the rest of them, it was like pretty useless. Like you showed us that this guy's a general, he's a master tactician. The guy at the end calls him a genius. And then there wasn't really much to it that they got captured. And then they had to,
I think they established that he has like had a long career as a tactician in the Empire's military. And he was fighting in this gladiator pit. And I don't even remember the specifics of how he joined or why. But that is why they went after him, because they need somebody, like they need a strategist, and he's a strategist.
So that part makes sense as to why they went after him. But then my point is that they then don't showcase the talent of anyone that they've recruited at all. So like the guy with the hippogriff, we'll say, because they ripped the scene off of Harry Potter. The guy with the hippogriff who tamed the animals, what was his special, like, what was the reason for him like recruiting him again? And like, how do they then show it in the rest of the movie? Like, unless I missed it, I don't recall.
It's like a video game quest, right? Where you do a side quest to get a new party member.
Yeah.
But and the side quest is not related to the main story. And that's kind of what happened 4 times in a row, right? And then the ambush, like, am I crazy, or was that just not foreshadowed? Absolutely. Like there was this one situation where the Charlie Hunnam character said something about once having had honor and wanting a new life or something. But did he achieve that by selling them out to the Empire?
Who knows?
So for a story that like if I'm incubating a story in my head for 30 years, I'm gonna add detail, right? Yeah. And I'm gonna add maybe even too much detail. Then if that somehow makes it into a movie script, I'm gonna have to cut out half of it because it's detail that only I can get excited about. That's usually what happens. And here it's the exact opposite. It's like to Snyder, these characters are just aesthetics, and that's all they are.
Like I wonder, because you said that this has been developed over 30 years. I wonder at what point each character was introduced into the story, and then how long it took for him to actually even properly flesh out the characters, because it seems like they all could have been, rushed in the last year or so. They could have all just been added into the story in the past year.
But without that, there's not a whole lot, right? Other than it's just the bad guy empire that is even more one-dimensional than the Galactic Empire from Star Wars.
You think so? That was actually one of my only positives about the movie was the bad guy. I can't remember his name.
This film has been critically judged in a negative manner universally, I feel like. So I was actually going to get into what the positives were in the film.
I have some positives if you like. So the first 10 minutes until the leader of the village is killed. Up at that point, I was actually on board with it.
100%.
This whole Kora's character is pretty archetypical, right? She's the ex-soldier who has a life of regret and has tried to start over in a simple environment, and but her past is catching up with her. It's archetypical, but archetypical doesn't mean bad. Right, so I'm totally on board with her basic premise. She doesn't have much personality after that, and she doesn't do anything interesting. Doesn't seem to have any skills other than walk around and follow the plot along. But in those first 10-15 minutes, I'm really on board with her. I also like how the what are they called, the Motherworld, are presented in the first, up until right that point, because they actually have a characterization in that scene. They are chillingly polite. They're like a very nice while they're stepping on your neck. Right? On paper, they are very respectful and they are talking about partnership and all of these things. And then once somebody falls out of line, they immediately met with extreme violence. That has potential for an interesting characterization. Why are they like this? Why does it work for them? Why has this strategy led to them running? I mean, we don't even know how powerful they are, but they're maybe the strongest nation in the galaxy, whatever. I thought that was kind of interesting, but everything after that, they have zero characterization, in my opinion.
I agree with your point. I feel like I just liked the general that they had. I feel like he was probably the strongest actor in the movie. To be honest, I feel like everything he was given to do was very one-dimensional, but I feel like the way that he acted it and the way that he kind of worked with the script, I feel like he was like a massive positive for the movie. In my opinion,
he had a bunch of presence, and he was probably the most engaging character But really, I wouldn't call it engaging exactly, but he had certainly the most presence of all of the characters throughout the story, right? And he had the most agency. Any other positives? Because I think that's it for me.
Yeah, that's it for me, to be honest.
No, literally, I was gonna say as well, just to add on to that point, the Admiral, he was definitely my favorite. He was definitely the highlight for me. Just the fear factor, his presence was just, when he pops up, you know the stakes are going to be high, and I think he executed even his performance, he executed it very well. I've seen him in a few things as well, and he's pretty good. Like, he's a pretty good actor, so he was definitely right for this role.
I feel like
Ed something.
Sorry, I was gonna say I feel like he's criminally underutilized in the movie as well.
Yes.
Considering he's the best part of the movie.
Even the way he got killed off, even though he got brought back to life, even the way he got killed, I was like, they didn't do him justice. Before we even get into what we disliked about the film, even though we've said a lot that we've disliked about the film, is there any more highlights of the film that you felt, okay, this should get a shout out?
I feel like it was such a solid opening to the movie. And I was so confused at the start. I was like, why does everyone hate this movie? I was like so engaged in it, and it just fell off a cliff.
Well, a highlight that can be conveyed is the end.
At least we like the action. I don't know. I don't think the action.
I didn't really like the action. That's what I was gonna say.
Like,
yeah,
I
was gonna say
pieces that impressed me or that were unique in any way.
But guys,
characters didn't have like a fighting style or anything like that. Yeah. Where
we're gonna get there. No, I promise. No, sorry, just keep that in mind. We're gonna get that.
Kinds of things that you normally would expect to be good about a movie like this, like spectacle and creativity and visual design, like that all falls flat.
Even though we've pretty much dipped into these questions already, just to kind of just sort of solidify our points. But what I was gonna say in terms of like a highlight of the film, which was good, was even though the ending was a bit whack, it has a good setup pretty much. You know what I'm saying? They brought back the general to life, and now the stakes are gonna be high because now it's like he has to bring back the girl alive, the guy's daughter. The general's daughter? I forgot what his name is, but he has to find a way to bring her back alive. So that could kind of introduce some interesting plots for the second film. Obviously, the second film's already been done, so it's not like he can take the criticism and
it's already
it's
done.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully he's done more interesting things in the second film. But I do think the stakes are going to be higher in the second film now. So I do think, because of the way that the first part ended. So that's another highlight for me.
I actually have a reason for why I don't expect the second part to be any better, and that is that they've set it up in such a way that not only is one village trying to oppose like a galactic empire, but also now it's the emperor's or whatever his title is. It's personal, right? He personally knows that Kora is there, and he basically said, get her back or kill her at all costs. That basically means there can be no such thing as negotiation, or they can't have like a stalemate, or this is the might of an interstellar empire coming down on one village that doesn't even have a militia, right? So either they pull something out of nowhere, or it's got to be stupid where they win a fight and then that's the end, where they completely ignore the scale of what. Like, they even have a scene in the first part, right, where that Squid King, who has been harboring the rebels, gets found out by the Motherworld, and he surrenders and confesses, and they still bomb his city from orbit just to make a point. What can a village do against that? Like, they can't hide, right? So basically, the warship needs to show up, shoot once, and then it's over. Then the village is gone. Shoot twice, and the farms are destroyed. Like, the fields are destroyed. What can they possibly do to make this more interesting, or make this interesting in a way that doesn't undermine what they've set up about the villain?
Didn't he say that he has to bring her back alive? I don't think he said that he has to kill. If he can't bring her back alive, he has to kill her. I think he said he definitely has to bring her back alive so he can bring her back to him. Who's the guy again? The general. Do you guys remember his name?
It's the Belisarius is the emperor, and then we have.
Just while you're looking at that as well, I feel like what you're saying there again is like there were like intriguing parts in the opening sort of like kind of like half of the movie where, do you know when like they've killed the leader of the village, and then they're then discussing ways to sort of kind of negotiate with the empire, by harvesting more crops so that they can seem useful, so that they can be spared and stuff like that. It's like that type of like relationship between like a small village and the empire, or like maybe like a city or like a planet with the Empire. If they'd done more of that in the movie, like with the king and stuff like that, in terms of like the dynamic between them and stuff like that, I feel like it could have been a lot more interesting in terms of like constructive criticism.
I agree. I was literally just going to say because regarding to what General, let's say call him General V, in terms of the instructions that he gave the Admiral, I still think it was a good setup, a second movie, because now he has to figure out a way not to kill her, as well as bring her back for her to be killed. And in order for that to be done, it's going to be pretty tricky. So that can, introduce some interesting subplots. You know what I'm saying?
Can I say another dislike? Sorry. I know we've
Okay, you know what? Let's just get to the next question. What did you guys dislike about the film?
Right. The way so like obviously the guys betrayed them at the end, they're all like captured and whatever like that. They're all sort of kind of chained up. They can't go anywhere, whatever. The way that they get out of that situation is so stupid. And I hate it when movies do this, where it's conveniently one of the guys isn't chained up with the rest of them. Conveniently, he's the one that has to pull the trigger on her because he supposedly loves her, which we don't see because there's no character development at all. And then all he does is he twists it, pretends to shoot, takes out, shoots the guy, and I'm like, okay. And then she's somehow free. I have no clue how she broke free of that. I have no clue how anyone else broke free of the shackles that they were in. And then it's then full on a fight, and I'm like, that was so dumb. That was so dumb.
Wait, did you say you don't like element of one person being free while everyone else is like in shackles, pretty much?
I feel like it's just too much plot convenience that conveniently, because like again, if the guy's setting the trap, he knows how many people he's with. He knows how many people he's with. So conveniently, you don't have one for this guy, and then conveniently, you're telling him to be the one to take out this Kora girl first, and it's just. I hate convenience in stories. I feel like if they're going to break free, it's got to be done in a clever way where they utilize the skills that they've kind of like shown throughout the movie to then get themselves out of a tricky situation, as opposed to the bad guy just being dumb, basically.
I hear what you're saying.
At no point do any of the characters use their skills or unique capabilities or whatever. It just kind of happens.
I hear what you're saying, but I have to kind of disagree with that one in terms of the theme of, there being one guy that's free. Because I think if it's done well and executed well, then it's brilliant. Like, for example, in The Walking Dead, Negan and Rick Grimes, remember when you had them all in the forest? And even though they didn't have physical shackles on them, everyone else had a gun to their head while Rick was the only one that was free. And obviously the decisions and dilemmas that he was put through by Negan. That scene there is one of the most iconic scenes for me in freaking zombie film TV history. You know what I'm saying?
That's because you care about the characters in that situation, and there's like actual real stakes there. And I feel like when you actually care about the characters, when it's actually, kind of done well, where you've got Rick Grimes, who's the leader of the crew, and like he's been shown to be that throughout however many seasons, so that even though he's the one that's free, there's consequences to anything that he does do. So the stakes are high in that situation. Whereas here, there are,
But to be fair, remember in the beginning with that guy who was given the freedom to actually, what's his name? The guy that saved them all. He made a decision which pretty much got his leader killed and put his village in jeopardy. So now, fast forward, he's in a situation now where he's like in the same situation, but this time he does the right thing. So it kind of makes sense why they chose him to be that guy.
But there's no parallel to that situation. But yeah, I don't like. I understand.
Do you think there's any parallel?
There are some parallels, but it's not completely the same kind of black and white decision where he decides to speak up here and like, whatever. I don't feel like.
I understand what you're saying, but the stakes was still pretty much the same. Like, because now it's like his decision makes now is going to pretty much either save people around him or kill people around him. Obviously, the first time, his decision killed the people around him, put him in a situation where literally they're all going to end up in a coffin real soon. Now he's in a situation as well where he's like, okay, am I going to shoot her, which will lead to everyone else dying, or I don't know. Like I said, I don't even know how the hell he ended up saving all of them. I do agree. But yeah, I think it is kind of parallel, in my opinion. So I kind of get why he was the one that was free.
So this is going to be the first or one more Star Wars comparison out of many. In Star Wars A New Hope, right? The trench run succeeds because Han Solo comes back and reinforces them at just the right time, right? And he comes back because he had a change of heart. He had a change of heart because Luke, with his idealism, got through to him. And all of that is like a chain of events that culminates in that one situation. And this seems like this would have been the point where something similar could have happened. Maybe not necessarily in that exact spot, but somewhere along the lines, right? Some chain of events happens throughout the story, and then it culminates at the right moment to save the day, because the heroes were heroic and the villains were, backstabbing jerks. That's how a story would work, and nothing like that happens here.
There's no point in me even asking the next question, because I feel like we all have the same answer, but I'm just going to answer. Anyways, who was your favorite character, your favorite performance in this film?
So performance-wise, I don't think anybody really stood out. I mean, the villain has more presence than anybody else, like I've said. I think Kora works fine. I think she strikes a good balance between stoic and not wanting anything to do with anything, but still feeling a responsibility to do the right thing. Other than that, some of those characters have maybe borderline neat designs, but that's kind of it. Yeah, so I think it's Kora and the main villain. Everybody else is kind of not really there.
What about you, Hervé?
Same, to be fair. The main villain, to be honest. He's literally the only one that, when he was on screen, I was actually kind of interested in the movie. I was like captivated whenever he was on screen. Apart from that, you can kind of pretty much leave like all of these characters. Even the character Kora didn't really grab me at all. Was nothing really interesting about her. They could have set up better conflict within her, because obviously her home planet was destroyed by the Empire, and then she then worked for the Empire for so many years before being found on a ship and stuff like that. And I feel like there could have been more internal conflict between how she grew up within the Empire, and obviously like her remembering her home country being destroyed and stuff like that. I feel like there could have been an interesting internal conflict there. Apart from that, none of the other characters really do anything of significance to even kind of warrant being liked that much.
I actually think her character concept is pretty good and probably by far the strongest thing about the movie. Problem is it stops mattering after 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's
right?
not explored enough.
I don't like the overuse of flashbacks at all. That could have been woven into the story in some way. We don't actually need to see her be raised by the military. We can just have that be communicated through plot and character interactions. But the whole basic idea of I was raised in this terrible environment and, I was really good at being a villain, and then I got out and thought I got away, but now I'm being dragged in because of this pesky compassion. And doing so will undo years of progress of me trying to get away from these people, but it's the only right thing to do, right? Because these people these farmers depend on me. Like all of that, I think is really strong. It's a perfectly fine character concept with all sorts of potential. The problem is it stops mattering after 20 minutes. After that, she just goes through the plot motions. I don't think she makes much of a decision or has much agency other than going to place, recruiting person, going to other place, fighting somebody. She doesn't even have, unless I missed it, she doesn't even have an interaction with the military people. Like, this used to be her people. She used to command them. They should remember, maybe they personally don't remember her, but maybe she has a reputation, or people still talk about her, things she did, in various battles, whatever. None of that is there.
Also, sorry, if she was the daughter of General B, surely she would have been recognized at some point. Like by some...
She was recognized briefly, yeah, but unfortunately, but I get what you're saying. She was recognized briefly by the Admiral, but besides that, no one else recognized her.
But it doesn't matter in the story at all. I think somebody makes a remark at some point.
I think as well what you're saying about the agency as well, and like her actually making decisions. So they, by accident, happen upon the thief that ends up betraying them at the end in the bar. So it's not like she even went there and discovered him on purpose. It happens completely by accident. And then from that point onward, I can't even remember the character's name, but the thief that betrays him, it's then him that then is directing them to find everyone else as well. So it's not even like she's doing anything remarkably well to then go and find all the other people. So she's just like a bit of a nothing character, to be fair. Wasted potential, I would say.
So how can this, so what next? How can this film be saved? Well, how can this universe, unstarted franchise? You know what? I actually had high hopes for this. I actually thought this was going to turn into a big franchise. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like it is. But how can this film be saved, pretty much, in part 2?
This has to basically be a prologue. I mean, we know that won't happen because part 2 is already filmed, and I would be surprised if Zack Snyder agreed with any of our criticisms. I think he made exactly the movie he wanted to make. There's nothing surprising about any of this other than how unimpressive it is. Because, he does have a sense of aesthetics and spectacle, which somehow was absent from this. If you watch the trailer for the second part, it's just they train and then they fight. Unless, there's some big surprise twist or reveal or whatever. But I don't think I don't think he's setting up any big reveal or anything, or some last minute change. And also nothing's been established or foreshadowed that could do this, right? It's not like there's somebody who could betray the Motherworld because they have compassion with the farmers or something. Like, none of that even exists.
Damn, it's a shame, man.
And so this was supposed to be a Star Wars killer, right? For space opera, currently, it's basically this, Dune, and Star Wars. And Star Wars is kind of a life support. Dune is a limited story. Like, there's only going to be so many movies. Even the best case scenario, they'll keep going with the books, and then, But it's not like that's going to be this huge epic movie saga in all likelihood, right? If you want a Star Wars-like experience, this is kind of it. And the bar for that is really low. The things it had to deliver to really get people on board was not that high, in my opinion, because there's nothing else out there that really scratches that itch. It's like a game of limbo, right, where the bar is already very low and you still manage to go under it.
And in terms of who was it just solely Zack Snyder? Did he have any help?
He had full control.
He had full control.
Netflix basically said, "Go do your thing," and he did.
How much money did they give him for this film?
170 million for both parts, which is actually not that bad. This is Netflix, so there's no box office. So who knows if that's a good investment or not? $170 million for 2 feature-length movies, not that bad.
It just needed stronger writers. It just needed a fresh pair of eyes to come in and fully flesh out the characters, fully kind of flesh out the plot as well. To be honest, I feel like that's where it's weakest. It's the characters itself.
I've got another Star Wars comparison if you want. So the prequels were a hot mess, right? Story-wise, structure-wise, direction-wise, dialogue-wise, it's all a one big garbage fire. But there were lots of good ideas in there, and for 20 plus years, people were taking little nuggets that were hinted at in those movies and then build other games, movies, novels, comics, whatever from those, right? What are you going to do with this movie? How many spin-offs can you make from what's been presented in this movie?
They could potentially with the characters, because we hardly know them already. So if there was a spin-off, it'll be based on obviously the character stories.
It'd almost be a blank slate because there wasn't really much else to them. Like you've got the general who kind of had his failed rebellion against the Empire, and that's another point in the movie. It's like Rebel Moon and whatever. Like, I know that they've gone through and they've recruited certain characters and stuff like that, but I feel like, again, like Star Wars comparison, they could have had a whole rebellion where they're actually starting to actually build it up and start to negotiate with different cities, different towns again. Then you see more of the dynamic between a city and the Empire, where they maybe want to join the rebellion, but they're a little bit scared of the Empire or whatever. They could have done a little bit more of that in the film, where they actually built out them forming a proper rebellion as opposed to just a bunch of band of misfits who are not interesting at all.
I was going to say, do we actually want to see more of the rebellion? Because I don't.
Even the brother and sister, again, I forget their names at all. They came on screen and it was so uninspiring. It was so flat. I think, like you were saying, is everyone in this movie was jerks, basically. And they came on and I was like, these are meant to be the good guys and they sound like dicks. They came and I was like, they could have been the bad guys.
Yeah.
Or like the militant wing of the rebellion or something, right? Like the people who are taking it too far or who are being consumed by revenge or just wanting to do violence and using the cause of the rebellion as an excuse for being violent. That could be the case, except we don't see. Everything we see is that these are the good guys. These are the people taking the fight to the Motherworld.
And again, another kind of Star Wars comparison. So I don't know if you watched Andor or not, but in that, it kind of presents the rebellion in a much more interesting way in terms of these are the difficult choices we have to make as part of the rebellion to kind of progress the cause or whatever. And here,
don't agree what the cause is and how we should pursue it.
Exactly. And in here, it's they are a small army. They're being very tactical. They've been very tactical in how they kind of fight the Empire, basically. And then the brother just decides, I'm going to go and do this reckless battle or whatever like that. It could have been it could have been just been done in a more clever way.
So what everybody is missing is characterization, right?
Yes.
So the evil Empire has no characterization at all. They just do evil things because they're evil. There are many different forms of imperialism, right? If you take historical examples, there are many different ways of doing this, right? And the way countries that are in that position behave and how they treat weaker countries and things like that, right? Which version was this one? It was the version that wears fancy uniforms and abuses everybody. Like the comparison to the Galactic Empire is obvious, right? But from the very first moment of A New Hope, we know what the deal of the Galactic Empire is, right? It's conformity, it's control, it's imposing order on a chaotic galaxy. What is the Motherworld's deal? What's their motive? What's their way of operating? What's their founding myth? And what do they think they are doing to make the universe a better place?
They're not. Like the main character said, they're here to take everything, basically, is what they were saying.
That could be the perception of the people being colonized, right? And then you cut two people in the capital and they think they're bringing civilization or sophistication, or they're advancing the cause of humanity on a galactic scale, and to make a galaxy scale omelette, you have to break a couple eggs. That dialogue basically writes itself. And even that is missing. Like, even when like the upper echelons of the Motherworld are talking to each other in a closed room, they don't have an agenda. To bring it back to Andor, like, that actually did similar thing where it kind of, in different episodes and different scenes, the Galactic Empire was a different kind of imperialism and of evil. Sometimes they were acting in a very colonial way, bringing civilization to the outer planets, right? And talking about how local superstitions will be fixed soon, right? And then at other times they're like bureaucratic evil, and at other times they are like legal evil, like where they oppress people through laws and regulations. One criticism of Andor could be that it's maybe a bit a wide net.
You would expect that if it's like a galactic empire and they're controlling the whole galaxy, you would expect there to be different branches of it. You would expect different forms of it in many different ways. So here, again, like I said, it's very one-dimensional. It's very, we're going to take everything and we're going to just destroy everything just for the sake of it.
And that's kind of one of my pet peeves in fiction, is when good people do good things and bad people do bad things, in the sense that you make a list of good things and the good guys do all of them. And then you have a list of bad things and the bad guys do all of them. And there's no crossover between the two columns. It's the laziest of writing, and this does it, you know.
And that was most evident in, again, the opening, where you've got the soldiers that stay behind on the village planet. And you've got the two guys that are like very obviously bad, shooting the robot, just being a nuisance to all the villagers. And then you got the one good guy who then stands up for everyone. It was just a bit too tropey, and it was a bit too like on the head. And it's like, what is this good guy doing with the? If you can see that the Empire are like very bad throughout, and they're shown to be sort of bad throughout the whole movie, what was this one good guy doing with the Empire to then have this sudden sort of kind of change of heart on this sort of one little village, who we then don't see again for the rest of the movie because he was a very pointless character.
And then what was the point of the opening scene where they have this whole routine of we are partners in this? Mm-hmm. It would be a shame if you did something to jeopardize this wonderful partnership.
Yeah.
Right? That is completely gone after. And if that is a lie, if that is just the propaganda, why do they stop doing that after the first meeting? Why is that not baked into how they relate to the people they are oppressing?
Because then again, it creates that moral. It creates that morally grey where they're like, then the villagers are arguing about, we can show them that we're valuable, so that they then are a little bit nicer to us, as opposed to then just coming and sort of taking everything. Basically, it creates that dilemma within sort of the good guys and the bad guys or whatever like that, which is then not shown again for the rest of the movie, which is the most interesting part, the start of the movie.
Yeah, I've got one more Star Wars comparison in me. And that is Star Wars. I think it's underrated. So first of all, this started out as Zack Snyder Star Wars, right? And this only shows that Zack Snyder just doesn't even understand Star Wars, because the original trilogy, at least, what was really good about it, and the prequels did this a little bit in a much more flawed way as well, is the really clever use of archetypes, right? Everybody talks about the first scene in A New Hope, where you have the small rebel ship, and it's being pursued by this massive Star Destroyer that never ends, and it's like a hand reaching out, trying to crush whatever is in front of it, right? And there's a reason why it's called The Rebellion and the Empire, right? Because it uses these archetypes in a very clever way to communicate a very complicated situation, and if you're watching it for the first time, if you're new to the story, a very alien world to you. But from everything, and from the visual design of the stormtroopers to the way the Star Destroyer looks to the uniforms, everything communicates what their deal is, right? Or what the situation is of these people, right? The difference in the different planets, the closer you get to the core, the more orderly and shiny things are, and the further out you get, the grimier and the more broken down things are, and all of these things, right? These communicate things about the world. This movie didn't do any of them. For example, like the uniforms of the Motherworld soldiers doesn't tell a story at all. The iconography doesn't tell a story. Why were there people with skull masks behind him, behind that general guy? I don't have to have that explained explicitly, but it doesn't seem to fit. It doesn't seem to tell a story. Even if this was a Star Wars ripoff, I mean, and I think that's doing it not enough credit. But if you were to call it that, it wouldn't even be a good one because it's not stealing Star Wars' best trick.
So was this better? Would you say this one was worse than the creator?
The creator is much better at telling the story he wants to tell. It's just a crappy story. Oh. And it's also very one-dimensional, very heavy-handed. But it gets the point across, you know what the deal is, you know what it's about. And here it's just a muddled mess of things Zack Snyder think looks cool.
Yeah, man. I haven't really seen Star Wars. I only saw the first one. So I'm not really too informed of what you guys are talking about here. But I got bits, you know what I'm saying? I understood bits. It would
be interesting to see if you watch the original trilogy, having seen Rebel Moon first, whether you can kind of follow along what we're saying. Like if you can see where we're coming from.
No, definitely.
Because like if you go the other direction, if you see the rip-off first and then the thing that inspired it, do you see the difference, how it's trying to do similar things but in very different ways, and why one has been a classic that has sparked people's imagination for 50 years, whereas the other one will probably be forgotten in 6 months? The funny thing is, how many billions did they leave on the table? If they had succeeded at this, and this had been the big new thing, the big space opera, maybe doesn't have as much legs as Star Wars, but there's spin-offs and sequels and tie-ins and all of that. How many billions would they have paid?
Yeah.
Jonathan, watch Rogue One as well. Original trilogy and Rogue One, like so much better than this.
Cool. I'll put that on my list. All right, guys. Well, last thoughts.
I think it's dead.
Yeah.
Our job.
It's dead. Yeah.
All right, cool. Would you rate the film?
3 out of 10. It could have had so much potential. 3 out of 10. I don't even care about the second part, to be honest. I don't care how this ends. But for this, we have to watch it. So 3 out of 10.
What were you, Daniel?
I rated Zack Snyder out of A New Hope.
I'm gonna give
Daniel,
we need one more Star Wars comparison, please. Just one more.
I think I'm tapped out. I think we reached 5 or 6. I think that's pretty.
I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10. Like I said, I thought it was satisfactory. I just think the story and the performances, and especially the lack of bond between the team, I think that should have been executed with more care. But yeah, it was satisfactory. It was
I'm totally on board with schlock. It has to be fun and it has to be creative, and it's neither.
Well, it was all right. It was all right. I give it a 5 out of 10.
So to cleanse our palate, should we do best thing we've recently watched?
Before we even say that, I was actually going to ask. So what movie are we watching next?
So next week it's Night's One.
Guys, make sure you're on the lookout for that. Best thing I haven't actually watched nothing.
I was going to say, you see what you guys got me doing? Because I don't watch horror movies whatsoever, but I'll be watching Night's One for this.
You need to convert. I'm telling you. The horror film genre is something, it's like junk food. It's literally just a huge burst of energy. That's all, literally just junk food. You watch it once. It's not nothing too memorable. There are some films
if you haven't seen much horror that you've liked, watch The Exorcist and watch The Thing. And then
Daniel, you should not introduce him to The Exorcist, because I feel like that will actually kind of scare him away from horror.
I feel like you should set me up.
Yeah, The Exorcist, that one's good. I even remember we saw the video on YouTube how the audience reaction back in the 90s or 70s.
70s, yeah.
Okay.
Terrible.
People fainted in the cinema.
Terrible. Watch it on YouTube.
It's actually not scary for the reason you think it is. It's not that creepy. It's not that gross. It's just I
say it's unsettling.
It is very good. It's very unsettling. It is very scary, but it's not like terrifying.
Jack jumps. Yeah, like not a lot of jumps.
There's no gore. There's no body horror. It's not scary for the reasons you would think it is.
I'm going to stick to the horror that I have to watch for this, and that's it. I will not be doing no deep dives or anything like that. But thanks for the suggestion.
This was produced by James Wan, so it can't be as dull as the trailer is.
Yeah, the trailer makes it look super generic.
Yeah.
I hope it's better than that. I hope they're hiding some kind of twist or interesting concept, because it's not in the trailer. We'll see.
It could hopefully be like a Barbarian. Like the Barbarian of the trailer is literally, it's not what you see, what you get. Barbarian was a completely plot twist. I was like, whoa, I was not expecting that. Yeah, hopefully it's the same with Night Swim. Hi guys. Well,
I think we're meant to touch on the best thing that we watched recently.
Yeah, I've actually got something.
okay. Sorry. Yeah, Daniel, what's good?
So for a couple of months ago, I got a Netflix account for the first time in like 6 years, and been trying to find good things on there to watch. And there's clearly some good stuff in there, but you have to really dig into it. And this week I found something, which is Little Evil, which is a demon child movie, but it's a satire about parenting. So it's basically a demon child movie like The Omen or Rosemary's Baby, where a parent realizes that their child is the devil. Usually those movies are told from the point of view of the mother, and this time it's told from the point of view of a stepfather. So this guy gets married to this woman, and she has a 6-year-old child. And as he tries to bond with his new son, he realizes that he's the devil. That's the setup. And it's really funny. It's well made. I think it's by far the best straight to Netflix movie I've seen. That average is not very high, but this is quite good. It's got the best jump scare I've ever seen.
Cool.
I watched the Family Plan yesterday. It's on Apple TV, and Apple TV kind of has some gems on there from time to time. To be honest, it's just like a feel-good movie. You kind of sit there and watch it with your family, which is what I did as well. But it's just a former assassin has a family, left the assassins in a kind of world. And he's being dragged back into it, and it's just like a kind of cross-country trip around America as well. It's like a very, very basic, very simple plot. You kind of have to switch off your brain and ignore all the sort of nonsense that happens in the movie and all these kind of convenience that happens in it. It's just a feel-good movie.
Yeah, I watched that as well. It was alright. It was okay. It was pretty decent. Yeah, it was pretty decent. It's fun.
Yeah, that's what I say. It's just like a fun kind of family movie, feel-good movie.
All right, guys. So looks like today is the end of our conversation, end of our discussion. Well, everyone, glad you enjoyed. If you haven't seen Rebel Moon, I'd say go and watch it, man. You know what I'm saying? Go watch it. It's, I personally, like I said, personally for me, it's a satisfactory film. If you've got nothing to watch, then I'd definitely say Rebel Moon should be on your watch list if you've got nothing to watch.
If you don't like good movies, enjoy this.
Yeah.
God damn.
I would say go for a walk outside. If you've got nothing to do, go touch some grass. Go find a hobby or something. Just yeah.
Guys, I don't know if you realize, but I am the positive one in the group. But yeah, all right, guys. See you next week.
Peace.
Au revoir.
Ciao.